Hey, what's up, everyone? It's your man, Sean Zittel, wrapping up here from the Frostbank Arena in San Antonio, Texas, where we saw a great fucking fight in the main event between Lamont Roach and Isaac Cruz. Let's get into it. So, keep in mind, I picked Roach in the last minute in this fight. I was really on the fence and all the way through up until fight week getting here in Texas. And I picked Roach at the last moment. And sometimes what I'll do in order to keep my objectivity, close rounds, I'll actually edge to the guy I didn't pick to make sure I'm not being biased towards my pick. So keep that in mind. Now, here was my initial reaction to the fight. Lamont Roach was playing with fire early, and he was getting into dangerous exchanges with Lamont Roach, with Isaac Cruz. When maybe he didn't need to, he was moving around, tying him up at the appropriate range and resetting well. But he came to fight tonight. He wanted to make a statement behind enemy lines in front of a rabid crowd for Cruz. And I thought, but also that's just his style. I said heading in, he's not the mover that Ryo was when he beat Pitbull, and he's not the mover Tank was when he beat Pitbull either. He's a guy from the DMV who's gonna sit in the pocket a lot. You know, that's where he got his best work done against Gervonta. So, but that being said, I still felt like it's funny because all the judges scored the first two rounds for Cruz, and I thought Roach may have won both of those rounds, if not at least one of them. I thought he was checking him with the hook good. I thought he was hitting him with some right hands coming in and was tying him up and not getting hit too clean in the first two rounds. And then boom, third round, he gets dropped with a knockdown. Beautiful left hook by Cruz, his money shot. And it was like, uh-oh, here we go. And then I thought Cruz was in control after that moment for the entirety of the first half of the fight, you know, through 5-6 rounds. And it was hard for me I never felt like Roach ever took away the momentum fully. And he got hurt, and then he had to get dragged into a war. He was very composed. He was countering in the pocket, but I thought Cruz was winning the first half of the fight. So as the fight goes on, Roach settles down and starts counter-punching well. But then that point deduction comes into play. And I'm giving you my first gut reaction. I'm like, oh, they really want Roach to get this rematch with Tank, because I'm like, oh man, there's no warnings. And my first initial reaction was that point deduction is bullshit for Cruz. In second thought, you know, he did get hit low, clean, once or twice early in the fight. Cruz is very aggressive and will roughhouse you on the inside, so maybe not as egregious a point deduction as conspiracy theory me thought at first. But that was my initial reaction. And then I thought, look, Roach did good things, but he never quite had the moment that Cruz had early, and he was dragged into a war. And then Cruz in the 8th round, he sticks his tongue out, and he actually, surprised us with that wrinkle in his game. Got up on his toes and jabbed a little bit, but I went back and forth. It was hard to see if he was setting a trap, and he said after the fight, you know, giving Roach his own medicine, but I didn't know if that's what he was doing or just fatiguing, and I think it was a little bit of both. And Roach definitely won the second half of the fight. He started banking some rounds. They were competitive rounds, though. It wasn't like, you know, Cruz, who landed much more body shots, but got outlanded up top and accuracy-wise by Roach. But Roach hit him with some clean shots, got his attention, but Cruz, even in losing the second half of the fight, still hurt Roach a couple of times. And I thought maybe stole the 11th and 12th round upon first watch. Definitely thought he won the 12th. Maybe stole the 11th with the last 10-second flurries, but point being, he would still rock Roach every now and then, and Roach wasn't able to rock him too often with his own clean work. So my initial impression was I thought Cruz won this fight, and I thought the point deduction was dubious. But I reflect on the fight, I go to the post-fight, and I see they both equally beat the shit out of each other. They both equally were convinced they won the fight. And then a lot of people I respect on social media and here covering the fight with me were convinced that Roach won the fight. So I began to reassess things and kind of came away feeling like, I guess the draw was the right call after all. I really have no pushback on the verdict now that I've had a little time to reflect after the fight. But it was a great fight. They said in the post-fight they're going to run it right back. I just felt like fights are not scored like this. We know they're scored round to round, right? But I thought watching the fight as a whole, just one, big chapter, one big fight, that with the knockdown and buckling Roach more than Roach was able to buckle him, that Cruz won the fight, that he edged the fight. But that's not how fights are scored. They're scored round by round. And, Roach did a lot of beautiful, clean work in the pocket here. He was super exciting to watch with Lamont Cruz. It's late night with Isaac Cruz tonight, but it was a hell of a fight. I can't get mad at the verdict. I'm just giving you my initial impression. I thought Cruz won, and also this is very important. Fights are different to watch. They're different live than they are on television, and I suspect definitely on television the clean, effective, sharp counters and work from Roach, who landed beautiful left hooks, check left hooks. You'd appreciate them more watching on television than sitting, 10, 20 rows back where they put us media now. But also, like Haney Lomachenko was like that. Live in the arena, I thought Lomachenko won. And then watching on TV, I could appreciate the clean work. But the physicality of a fight live plays a different role. The guy who's hurting the other one a little bit more and pushing the other one back sometimes hits different live, and that guy was Cruz. But just a great fight. Isaac Cruz is I've always thought he's had underrated velocity, and defensively he tucks his chin very well. So he's a little underrated that, but Roach with his father's style, he teaches him slipping and sliding, countering in the pocket. Very nice to watch. Got dragged to the depths of hell with good composure. And in a war of attrition against a Mexican warrior behind enemy lines, you're usually not going to win that battle, but he gets out of here with a draw. And if you do think the point deduction was dubious, oh, how the point deductions giveth and taketh away. He should have had a point in his favor with the knockdown against Gervonta. This time, he gets that point in his favor to get back-to-back draws. And so I think both fighters' stock goes up, though, tonight. And I wouldn't make it about this or that, but I think it was a good-ass fight in the United States. I think both guys' stock went up, and it was a really good fight. That's my initial impression of that. I'm down to see it again. It was just nice to see a great fight, and then two guys very respectful in the post-fight afterwards. Roach revealed he broke his hand. They had some banter about the refereeing of the fight and the scoring of the fight, but two classy men after the fight who, left it all in the ring, gave us a good show. I don't got too much to critique on that front. So, good ass fight. As for the rest of the card, O'Shaquie Foster, man, dominated Foster-Fulton. Weight classes finally mattered again, because they didn't for Norman's first fight at, Haney's first fight at 147, and they didn't when Crawford moved up 2 weight classes to beat Canelo. They mattered tonight. O'Shaquie Foster had that disciplined length. He was very disciplined, using every inch of his length. Pause, because Cam and May said that all week, and I've had to hear that word a lot. So yes, pause, but very disciplined, used every inch of his length to keep him on the outside. And then he switches southpaw in the 3rd round, and then eventually gets to start fighting downhill on Foster-Fulton and be fairly decisive and dominant in this fight. I think it's fair to say Shock might be the best fighter in 130 pounds. I think this probably is his last fight at 130, though. Now he has an option to either keep that belt or go up to 135. I think he's going to go to 135. He looked bone dry in the lead up to this fight, but it didn't affect him in the end. He won. Speaking of the WBC, what's really funny to me is that they allowed Foster-Fulton to blow weight at a time where in the House of Representatives, the WBC is getting criticized. And it's like if you're a mafia and you get pinched, which is kind of what's happened to them with Terrence Crawford and the hearings in DC this week, you lay low. And instead they double down and they're like, oh, a guy blew weight, we're gonna reward him with just fight for our next title in the next weight class. And they did that to ensure that no matter who won, they'd get their 3%. And they did that for no reason. They showed their ass for no reason, because in the end, if they wouldn't have made that decision, they were going to get the 3% out of the eventual victor, O'Shaquie Foster. So they gave themselves bad PR for no reason. They didn't even need to do it, which is funny. But yeah, Shock wants Shakur Stevenson at 135. Shock is an excellent fighter. Very good fighter. And if you're a purist, you enjoyed all the things that O'Shaquie Foster executed tonight, and I did. And speaking of, if you're a purist and you can appreciate purist-like things, Erislandy Lara was like James Harden with the step back, except instead of shooting a 3, it's step back, straight left hand, step back, straight left hand. Johan Gonzalez, I know your head is in the center. And Erislandy Lara has not exactly had a Bernard Hopkins, Marvin Hagler-esque title run at 160 pounds. It's actually the opposite. Shout out to my man Cornflake Lamana Paisan. I love you, but you know, I got a job to do. And between Zafara, Spike O'Sullivan, Danny Garcia moving up 2 weight classes, Thomas Lamana, and now Johan Gonzalez. Tonight was supposed to be the real test, but Janibek popped for PEDs. You know, it's been the opposite of a murderer's row. But that being said, Erislandy Lara has had a fucking missile of a straight left hand in his 40s in his 160-pound run. And I enjoyed watching it. The crowd booed, but he dropped him with a triple left hand and then boogied a little bit to close the fight. He dropped him in the first round. I enjoyed those kind of technical savvy aspects of Lara. So, I don't know. I enjoyed that. It was fun to watch, even though the crowd booed. So, yeah. Now, I think Janibek would have beat him, but he popped for PD. So, on the Lara's 160 title reign goes. Now, for the opener, I really want to give a lot of credit to Shane Mosley Jr., who was outgunned in terms of Ramos' sense of distance, his timing, and his placement. But he landed some big right hands in the 4th and 5th round and shook up Ramos. And I want to give props to Mosley Jr. because as a late starter, with whatever talent and ability he has, he absolutely left everything in the ring tonight and fought like a guy who got his title shot and was willing to do whatever he could to lose. I think he could hold his head up extremely high in defeat. He fought a hell of a fight and losing clearly 9-3 or so to Jesus Ramos. But as for Ramos, very solid fighter. Absolutely a solid fighter. Good patience, good skills, timing, distance, accuracy. But he's not dynamic. And he has to find another gear if he wants to go to that next level in his game. Him and Adames would be a good fight, but can't trust the WBC to actually make the interim champion fight the full champion. But that would be a good fight. And Ramos is a good fighter. He's very solid, but definitely, not spectacular. And you do wonder, can he find another gear, be a little more dynamic in his game to take him to another level to really become a world champion? And that remains to be seen. But I do want to salute Shane Mosley Jr. for the effort he had. But yeah, back to the main event. First impression was Cruz won. As I reflected on the fight, I think a draw was fine. And I want to see it again. So that's it for San Antonio. Thank you guys for watching throughout, and peace out.